hang on. Here we go.
I miss my goatee so bad.
Yeah, there we go. All right, Luke.
Oh, you're a bear.
Let us know how that's coming through.
Yeah, I shaved and put pants on for you guys.
Wow.
Even though I'm sitting down.
Wow. Impressive.
I have shorts on, even though I have a vest.
You look great.
Well, it's already like your bedtime right now there.
Yeah, I guess technically.
Pretty close.
In reality, I'd probably go to bed around now, but whatever. Life is for living, not for sleeping.
Truth. It works. How do we
That's what a bumper sticker told me.
You get your life advice. I get mine from Twitter. You get yours from bumper stickers.
Bumper stickers. They're even more concise.
Yeah.
You can't fit 40 characters into a bumper sticker.
No. Yeah. Just be happy. Luke, let us know if the balance is good as well.
He'll let you
Trump
know
has ruined all of them.
30 seconds when he
Bumper
hears
stickers,
that.
Twitter.
Everything just has that effect on things. Well, for the official podcast recording, which we'll I don't know. This is kind of I like the chaos, but we'll have to slate anyways. So
Yeah.
Oh wait. All right.
Oh yeah, Nick.
Don't forget your thingy.
You gotta
Are
hold
we
my.
ready? 1, 2, 3.
Oh God.
That was close.
Have fun with that one.
Yeah.
I'm way up at 7 minutes and 39 seconds.
Yep.
All right, brother. Thank you very much for checking in on our sound. Feel free to enjoy the show. This is great. We've got 3 people watching.
Hello?
This is exciting.
Luke, hello?
Luke, I can't hear you.
On my end, Matt, you were like a good 2-3 seconds late.
Really?
So
Yeah,
this
the
will be
delay's
fun.
crazy.
Nice.
Well, that's because you're recording and streaming, and
Yeah.
you're gonna unless you have like 2 machines going.
I'm curious how it sounds because I can hear this weird echo, but I don't know where the sound is coming from on my side.
Is it coming from? Can you hear it out externally now?
Yeah.
It's probably your Skype feed
somebody-
and your.
Is somebody playing it with volume on their ends?
No, I
Nope.
muted my phone.
I killed my volume.
It must be
Can you
coming.
hear a buzzing from me?
No, not right now.
Okay.
It must be coming from.
Bring down my...
It's not bugging me too much. Thanks, Luke, for adding 3 people to our watching stream by logging into 3 different accounts.
His wife and kids.
Yeah. In the kids' rooms, everything else.
We're up to 6 now.
Yeah, we got 6
You
people
want to
watching.
watch Trolls 2? No, you're watching this podcast.
You're watching my brother and his stupid friends. Now sit down. We're
Don't worry, they'll talk about Star Wars at some point.
yeah, don't worry.
You
we'll
had
get
your
there.
PB and J and mac and cheese
Yeah,
and
right.
Dino Nuggies. Keep it quiet.
We're going to talk about movies that you can't watch for 3 hours.
No, Eric said only 2.
I'm really excited that this is actually working. So, first ever live stream. So we'll maybe promote it next week, which will be a lot of fun. And so that way, say hey, at whatever time we're going to do it, 7:30 or 7 Mountain Time, and then that way maybe we'll jump on and check it out. It'd be kind of fun.
Yeah,
We're gonna have to list like 4 time zones though.
Yeah, I know, right? Exactly. We've got
We'll just do GMT and then tell everyone to figure it out.
right.
We'll go true nerd and be like, listen, where are you? Oh, it's minus 18 from that, by the way.
Just whatever Greenwich is. We've got about 15 cents in our Anchor CPM account, so we're balling at this point, crushing it. But we're getting there, man. We're going to be all right. This week, we decided we wanted to talk about some, we've been talking about this for a while. It's thin out there with not a whole lot of new stuff coming out. HBO Max just did their debut today, so we got some fresh new content rolling out here pretty soon. But the movie of the week is The Gentleman by Mr. Guy Ritchie. And would we consider ourselves Guy Ritchie fans in the room? I know I'm definitely a fan.
Absolutely.
100%.
Great, let's start with...
I wore the vest just to be a sport.
Yeah. So initially, like, you weren't bowled over by like Lock, Stock or anything like that early on. Not really a fan of his aesthetic.
I think, yeah. Like, I like the look. I really like the look of his movies.
Mhm.
I think his characters are it's like a lot. It's kind of like too much. It's like, oh, okay, I get it. This guy's really cool too. Oh, wait, hold on. Oh, wait, this guy's really cool. Yeah, it's just like keeps going.
Yeah.
And at the end, I'm like, can they all just fall in a blender? But
Ouch.
That's the subplot to Snatch, by the way.
I love it. And they all
Now,
fall
I
into a
haven't-
blender.
I haven't watched a lot of his movies, but no, I think they're certainly competent. They're well done. They look good. Like Gentleman looked great. It looked sumptuous. The color grading, everything on it.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, it's competent. But yeah, I think, yeah, the characters, I kind of like have to go, okay, here we go. And then by the end, like with this one, I still cared about the characters I was supposed to care about.
That's good.
So, despite me being like cranky about it, I still, by the end, I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Did you like it
Yes.
more or less than Bumblebee? Amazing.
I don't know. It's apples and oranges. So
Yeah, but
that's
which-
a tough
Gun
one.
to my head, Desert Island. what are we
I
talking about
certainly
here?
enjoyed this much more than the Michael Bay Transformers.
All right.
If you want to say, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll take Guy Ritchie over Michael Bay.
Right. Yeah.
And the whole like alpha dudes trying to suss up where they are in the chain of the hierarchy of coolness.
Yeah.
I'll take Guy Ritchie's approach over Michael Bay's.
Yeah. That's great.
Mhm.
Well, Brian, you call yourself a fanboy. Is it Tarantino style fanboy or not quite there?
Heading there, yeah, probably not to the extent. Like I don't have an altar of Guy Ritchie in my house that I kneel to every night like I do Quentin. But
Is
Yeah,
the
I
Quest
mean-
one just a giant foot?
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I find his movies just really good at doing the basic thing that movies are supposed to do, and that's just entertaining.
Hmm.
Like they're really good at that. Like I watched The Gentleman again. I had already seen it a couple times, and I watched it a couple of days ago. But today I was like, I want to watch it one more time before this, so it was fresh. And I love how like his dialogue, especially in this one, Matthew McConaughey, his dialogue. It's like, dare I say, like poetic, and it's almost like a song in a way. It's very, I don't know. It's I don't know how to describe it. It's so fun, and it's so like it's a little drawn out, and the way he describes things and says things is just, I don't know. It's just really cool, and I just like his sensibility. But I mean, to be honest, I'm a full-on lover of almost everything British television.
Right.
Which I know this is a movie, not TV, but his movies are very British most of the time, and yeah, it's just a lot of fun. Like, I mean, Hugh Grant in this movie, like for the win. I mean, come
Right.
on,
Yeah. So good.
so much fun.
Yeah.
Like I said before we started actually recording, it's just like it's basically him just making sexual advances at Charlie Hunnam for 2 hours,
Right. Yeah.
more or less.
Which is
It's-
like every little girl and little boy's dream. It's just like, yeah, I could do that for 2 hours. Sounds
Yeah.
great. My current
Yeah, I don't
dream.
know. Yeah, I'm a fan. Like, I watched, the other one I think we'll probably talk about later, but I also watched King Arthur,
Yeah.
his version of it. And it's basically just the same, kind of the same type of movie, but just in a different time period. And it's just a lot of fun. He has really quick cuts and quippy dialogue, and I know some of that's just kind of a British style. But I don't know. It's just a lot of fun. I think they said the C word a lot more in The Gentleman than some of his other movies. But
There's a lot of C
that's-
wording.
you get away with that though because it's a little bit very British.
Yeah.
oh yeah, the Brits take cursing and foul mouthness to a whole new level than Americans.
It feels like
Oh,
it's got weight. There's
Yeah.
actually something to it in a way. Even when there's 7, F-bombs in a row, it still feels like it kind of means something.
Well,
Yeah, like every
the
every
diversity.
F-bomb, yeah,
Yeah.
F-bomb punches you in the face.
Pretty much.
Yeah, and like the other thing I really like about his movies, like The Gentleman does it, and a couple of his movies does this quite well, is like when he's telling like stories, like some of it we experience in real time, and then some of it is a character explaining it how it's going to happen in the future, and then they fill in the holes later by a different character. He tells his like plots and subplots like that. I really enjoy that about him. It's really fun again.
Right. Yeah.
If it makes any sense at all.
Yeah, his way of playing with the timelines. It's definitely, Quentin did that a lot with, like Pulp Fiction, but but the way he does it in Lock, Stock, and the way he did it in this movie, it's just more fun. It's like you're enjoying the ride. You are in like it's like Disneyland versus maybe, I don't know, like dark Disneyland. There's not a whole, it's a little bit different, but yeah, I love the way that he plays with the timelines for sure.
Yeah, I feel like he like writes, his act structures out and the plot lines, and then like if it's on a piece of paper and he goes in and like pulls out little strips of paper and tosses that up in the air, and wherever it lands, that's the order they tell those little pieces.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. His movies are just a lot of fun. I feel like generally they're pretty solid too. I mean, the cast and Gentleman was outrageous. Sorry, I think my dog's growling. It was outrageous. They all did a great job, and it was, I don't know. Love it.
Yeah, good film. Nico,
For sure.
Thoughts?
Yeah, so this one is super, super good, but it's interesting too that it's not what I would call a prime example of his work. And what I mean by that is, like, if you look at Lock, Stock, Snatch, even the Sherlock Holmes and King Arthur, and Brian alluded to this, he does this great thing where he'll have, and the best example is either in Snatch or in King Arthur, where Charlie Hunnam is talking to one of the guards, and they're talking about, what did you do today? And he says something. He's like, no, start at the beginning. So he's narrating it, but then they're using these cutbacks to video and dialogue and stuff that like walks you through it. He did like 5 or 6 times in King Arthur, which is great. And that's something you can always expect from a Guy Ritchie movie. And when we watched The Gentleman, they did that, but the difference is that in his other movies, it's very fast. It's like pop, 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 pop. This one was just so slick in that it was like this nice slow, like the exact same effect, but very slow. So if you were to, hit fast forward, you would get the same thing. But it was brilliant that he had this long dialogue section, which was the same thing, but doubled in length. And it's like, oh man, that's so good. Like that's when you've got a mastery on, and he's not, I don't want to say he created that. It's not something that's not, but he just does it extremely well.
Yeah.
But yeah, The Gentleman, I also love the way that it starts, where you go in and you're like, oh, Matthew McConaughey dies.
Right.
Cool. Like,
and you're kind of okay with
that. Gonna be crazy.
Because you're kind of okay being told that right out the gate, because you're still going to have a cool story getting there.
Oh, yeah. The adventure to get to that moment. It's like as soon as that happens and he orders something so Englishly off the wall, a pickled egg and a pint. And then just the way that it does it. But then it was almost like an old school James Bond title intro.
Right.
With like the names over like colored scenes and snippets from the movie. So that was, I dug the style of it. But yeah, I love that it was, and I didn't pick it up right away, but on second watching, you're expecting the fast talk with the flashback, and this one had that, but it was so long and strung out. It was just like, wow, that's work. Like that's good. That's a good job.
Yeah. I like the pacing of that stuff. I would say more than the fast.
Yeah. Because it was a novelty in the early 90s. Or mid 90s when the first ones came out. It was a novelty to make a movie like that, because we were in a real bad era of movies when Pulp Fiction, when Lock, Stock, those movies came out. It was just terrible pat studio films. I mean, even look at like a couple of the weird, I guess it would have been like late 80s, or like late 90s, kind of 2000s, but the sort of strange sort of Coen Brothers movies that weren't Fargo, and they weren't the current films. It was just very kind of like, why you made a George Clooney, Catherine Zeta-Jones movie? I don't understand. So, but so when those movies came out, it was like really slick. So you kind of expect a guy like that to just kind of just keep doing it. But he did it, but not really. It was a much more slower burn, which was very, very satisfying. And McConaughey, so.
Yeah, because I think in Snatch, it's the thing that first drew me to that one was the scenes where the guy from New York flies over to the UK, and it's like he zips his bag close, he clicks his seatbelt, he takes a shot of espresso, plane lands, slams the door, then opens the door, dialogue starts, and you're like, what was that? Oh, I kind of like that. Mm-hmm. And then later on in the movie, they do that in reverse, so you're like, wait, this is really, really good. But then in later movies, he figured out how to stretch that out a little bit to make it an active part of like his thing. And then, this was when we watched. It's fresh in my head because we watched King Arthur last night too, which, man, it's so good. And it's like watching those two back to back is because they both have Charlie Hunnam, which is interesting. Yeah, but
in totally different roles, which is fun.
Yeah, totally different roles. But then even he's like Guy Ritchie's going the way of Tarantino, where he can take. I don't want to say anybody, but he can just like suss these great performances out of them. Because you think about like Jude Law and King Arthur, you think about I don't know the actor's name, but the guy who played the American investor in The Gentleman, just like
Jeremy Strong.
Yeah, Jeremy Strong.
Yeah, it's like I want you to be this.
I couldn't stand.
Dude, that's amazing. I bet you in the history of like life. No one has ever said Jeremy Strong, and then someone else went, ugh.
Not in this one for me.
Tell us why, please.
It was just his take. I was just like, oh.
See, I loved it. It was so fun.
Is it because he was supposed to be so smart, but then he just stumbled into this total cock up? Like his character was supposed to be this
the
brilliant.
Way he's playing the character. I mean, Strong's great, and so and I get that he's going for wanting to kind of play a character that you're like, and it's just like
that's so funny.
I gotta listen to this freaking guy again. Bring on the Cockney gangsters. I'll take that crap instead of this guy.
We should find the one acting teacher who didn't like him and get him on the show and be like, "Hey, we found another guy who just can't stand your student."
Like finally,
finally someone gets me. Now the thing though, so we kind of man crushed all over Leo and Brad last week, and probably like a lot of weeks because that's kind of what I do. But Matthew McConaughey is another one where it's just like, get out of here. I mean, how do he just continues to get better as an actor, but he holds his own, and thank God that he was like an American in this movie, and he was an American with British sensibilities because he's lived there his whole life. So you're okay with him saying some things and having like a little lilt to some of his voice, because I know people who have spent a lot of time in England and they come back with weird things, weird little like lifts to certain words and stuff like that. So I love that they kept him, that the script had him American, but he's so good. And I'm not a real big fan of the weed culture. I'm not a fan of any of that. Like, I don't smoke. I don't really, not my thing. So when I first saw that was like kind of part of the premise, I was just like, ugh, this is gonna be like a Weed's Awesome movie or what's going on here? And it wasn't a Weed's Awesome movie. It was just a good. It just happened to be his business.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think one of my favorite part of McConaughey's performance, I mean, there's so much good of him in that movie, but when the several times when he like is calm, cool, collected and goes like straight up terrifying that. Yeah. Like, that little, like the first one when he's like, the thing doesn't actually happen, he shoots the guy in the nuts and it's like, when the lion's hungry, he eats. Mm-hmm. I remember the first time we watched that in theaters, it made me jump. Mm-hmm. And then he does, and then later at the end of the movie when he's telling Jeremy Strong's character that it's going to cost a pound of flesh for going after his wife, and he does that like he almost
he steps on the gas,
but he also stays like collected in a way. Right. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, and I just wanted to
He
gush on
plays-
Yeah,
that.
he was
And
like
he's-
empathically violent, not
Yeah.
physically violent. Like
Yeah.
the temperature in the room went up 10 degrees and he just stood there.
Yeah.
Well, in 2, he has the scene with George. Is that the guy that with the
King
teeth?
George in the restaurant.
King
Yeah.
George or whatever. Yeah, right. And so that's where he almost goes all out, and it kind of like has to be like, I don't do this anymore. Or
Yeah.
take my gun.
Which was
Yeah.
great. That moment was cool. It wasn't something that I saw coming, and it was that empathically violent moment when he says, "He's like, George, if I can get to you in your own kitchen, I can get to you anywhere." And you're just like, ugh, like your stomach kind of drops out, and like I'm watching a movie,
Right.
but I'm scared of you right now.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
like, and he's
Fine,
not
I'll
even
buy
a-
a Cadillac. Just leave
Yeah.
me alone.
I love Lincolns.
well, and that's and you brought up the weed thing. That's an interesting choice too, because traditionally in movies where cartel guys or high end drug lord guys, it's mostly cocaine and and a fair amount of heroin, but I feel like it's normally the cocaine guys that are super big and scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that you don't mess with. And here we've got they made him a weed guy,
Mhm.
and like everyone wants to take him down, but everyone is also some secretly terrified of the guy.
Right.
And I just felt like that was a really cool character choice, because like I don't know if you guys watch the Netflix show Narcos, like
Watch the first one.
yeah, with like the Mexico one, like the weed guy is like the small guy that everyone makes fun of.
Right.
But-
Yeah. Totally. But this is it was sort of like creating this character that all he was doing was building a business to sell. It's basically everything that any Silicon Valley guy is doing right now. Trying to raise capital to build a business that they can sell in 3 years, and that's all he was doing. He was just trying to build a business to sell. Happens to be an illegal business, but I did enjoy the fact that he had a stored sort of in lords and ladies and their castles, because the what do you call it? I was going to call hierarchy. What do you call that when
Monarchy?
Monarchy, yeah.
Yeah.
Sheesh, that's a tough one. When the monarchy isn't a thing really, and so they are all people who sort of had all this money, and now it's dwindling, and so he's finding a way to sort of like reinvigorate these dying estates. In the meantime, sort of swooping up real estate.
It's such a brilliant device to take. I'm sure, like, if we were to look at this in 20 years, like the way that we look at 80s movies, and just be like, oh, what a great snapshot of the current political economic environment, to be smart enough to be like, yeah, you've got all these old lords and stuff that are dying, giving it to their kids that are like, well, the aristocracy is not really a thing anymore, so what? And then him, business-wise, come in, float them, and then, I mean, it's no different than like a mafia front, really, where it's like, do you really think we need VCR repairs anymore? But they're all over the place. And it was so smart. I do think weed was a great choice too, because it's illegal, but like, is it illegal? Yeah. Like it's one of those, like, I own greenhouses, or he talks about that. Even he's aware of when it goes legal. And then they make the prohibition discussion about, it took the U.S. economy 30 years to catch up after prohibition happened. So you may think that we're going to be down, but once it goes legal, we're going to be in demand. Like, it's going to go. I mean, you can even look at literally what's currently happening. So I think that all of that was just amazing research. And I tried to look at, and I didn't do it, but the story was by 3 people, the screenplay was by 2, and then directed. But so it was, Guy Ritchie was attached to all 3. I'm curious if one of those screenplay people wasn't essentially just like a researcher, like an econ major researcher saying, I need to make sure that this is all feasible so that it really sticks and it really sinks in, and it's not like space weed, something stupid like that. Like, it's not like
awesome.
it's not like this fake, like, oh, we're gonna do like the movies that there was a great one a couple years ago called Dope, but it was all about Bitcoin, and it's like that's a snapshot.
Right.
Time. Like, that movie won't even play. It's a great movie, but the economics of that movie don't even work anymore. So this one, they did a great job of doing all that like research and making sure like, is this a completely feasible, plausible system? And then they throw in the Colin Farrell and the Fight Club.
Oh,
it's like so it could have been this stupidly long, boring thing, but Guy Ritchie just loves to throw these little like left-handed curves into his stories.
He's
that just
so
make them
good,
much
man.
richer.
Colin Farrell, I don't know what I was watching, interview with him or what it was, but somebody was saying to him, "You're, especially when he was like the king at the point where he was like at the top of the movie stardom. He's like one of the most attractive, handsome, talented actors, and he insists on playing characters that make him look ugly. He just insists on it." And this is another great one where he plays a badass, but he's completely restrained because he doesn't do that anymore. Sort of that same sort of thing.
Yeah.
But the thing that Guy Ritchie does so well is the hierarchy. And what he does so well with his actors is the actors buy into the hierarchy. So McConaughey's on top, Charlie Hunnam is below him, and he shows the respect, and then Colin Farrell's character shows the respect. And then you've got like the gangster, his guys who are watching over the weed shop who, get the hell beat out of them by the kids. But then the scene when they're just like, yeah, they fought us well. They did a good job. They really whooped us.
Yeah.
They know what they're doing.
Yeah, I love
I'm just
all
saying.
Of that stuff.
Well, stop saying.
Yeah, right. I love all that stuff. That's what he does so well. Is everyone kind of gives each other deference in the movies. Did a lot of that in Snatch with the fighting and stuff.
Absolutely.
And so it's an interesting relationship that his own characters have. But it's interesting that he can bring movie stars, complete and total movie stars together, and they all play the part. It's kind of like Chekhov. Like they just play the part that they're playing, And I think Hugh Grant in this was almost his like Pulp Fiction, like Travolta had.
Exactly.
It was his role where you're like, oh my God, it's like something you've not really seen him do. And it's just, it's the new Hugh Grant. It's like, okay, good. We don't have to have rom-com Hugh Grant anymore. If we get this Hugh Grant from now on, this is going to be fun. Like he's so good in it.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of almost mirrors the McConaissance when thankfully when McConaughey got off his rom-com train, it'd be nice to see Hugh Grant. Yeah, like you said, Hugh Grant. Let's just do this from now on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you guys like or Ryan Gosling, I may or may not have watched The Notebook not that long ago because I just finally had to just check it out. I should just see it so I know.
The 10th time.
Yeah, I didn't make it all the way through. I like zipped through.
Well, but you have an excuse because we've all been quarantined, so you had to do something.
It was before the quarantine, but it's not good. It's not a good movie, but it's also not a good performance. He's very obnoxious and just way too much, way too over the top, and not era appropriate the way that he acts. It's just it's how Ryan Gosling would act in Crazy Stupid Love, but in the 50s or whatever it was, and it just doesn't work. And I don't think he would probably necessarily like his performance too much, but it's a time capsule. But you got a lot of actors who were like that because they were, hot and talented, so they got cast in certain roles. Now that they're in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, they've matured into something that is just a force to be reckoned with. McConaughey's like that. Woody Harrelson, just go down the list of guys who are just killing it at this point in their career, and they're, much, much older than they were before. I think it's great. I love it.
Yeah, the thing I liked about Hugh Grant, not just his performance, but his character too, and I think he played into this, was that his character was not oblivious to who he was working with.
Right.
Like he was not ignorant of the threats that he was making, and it was brought up multiple times. Like, what are you thinking? £2 million versus 150,000. Like, you're gonna have to, Fletcher. You're gonna have to let me know, Fletcher. And I think that's what kept the story really, really rolling, is that the whole time that he's essentially threatening some of the most powerful people in England. And this is a spoiler for the end, but he has that back pocket thing that they killed a Russian oligarch's kid.
Right.
That doesn't come out until he like checks his watch.
Yeah.
Such a subtle little thing. And it's like, even how they shot it and did that specific scene, everyone looks at Hugh Grant's watch when he looks at his watch. but it's set up where they're both standing there like this. And when he looks at his watch, the tension is so right that everyone goes,
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's great.
it was, and like I said, that was so great how they did that, because he easily could have been in the freezer too,
Right.
especially when he comes out of the restroom and those two guys are carrying off the body. Yeah. It's like, well, that's the end of Fletcher. Cool.
Yeah.
Bye.
Right. Exactly.
Well, like, what was even funny about Fletcher is like, later, they have him in the box already.
Right.
And he still has an ace in the hole.
Yeah.
Yeah. All that stuff is so good.
One of the things I caught, which I don't even know if this is really a thing or if I'm just making up in my head, but I always like stuff like this, is very beginning when Charlie Hunnam walks in again, it's this nice, big, wide Hitchcock wide shot. He walks in and it stays in that for a while, and it's very like noir lit. And then suddenly, he jingles his glass and they talk for a little bit. And then Charlie's like, okay, I'm going to buy in a little bit, walks in, and it's almost like the Fletcher character's on stage. So they go in the dining room and he flips on the lights, and it's, as he's really beginning to tell the story right before he whips out the script. Very subtle, like stage direction, things like that. I don't know. It's so, I don't know. So
well, it was 1,000,000% that, because, a lot of times, and I think movies are interesting. What are you unscrewing so quietly there?
This is the water.
Yeah.
I was trying to be very quiet about it.
The movies very rarely scratch their own itch or sort of get incestuous with themselves in the sense of calling themselves out as a movie. And I love that they did this, because you're talking about a very capable writer, director, and a very capable set of actors. And that's exactly what they were doing. It was like setting up the stage for the movie. And it was lights, camera, action, 100%, or more like lights, curtain. Really at the end of the day, and as I was watching it for the first time, I felt that viewer in a theater moment where he wanted it to get really quiet and the lights to go down, because Hugh Grant was talking. He's going to start telling the story, and I loved it. And it made me want to drink really expensive scotch.
Yeah. Well, I said this to my girlfriend before we started recording. I just hit the mic with the glass. That I have to have a glass of whiskey for this podcast. We're talking about The Gentleman, because like they drank 2 bottles of 1,500-pound scotch. Right. So it's like, I feel like it'd be a crime if I don't at least have it. It's not even scotch, it's bourbon, but whatever.
Nice. What are you drinking tonight?
It's called it's a Willett bourbon.
Oh, Willett, nice.
It's I think I've got one more glass of it. My boss got it for me for Christmas.
The one with the horsey on the top?
No, it's like this weird. I would go get it, but it's actually really heavy and awkward.
It's a cider.
Yeah.
Oh, call back!
How dare you? I know what a satyr is. It looks like a zebra.
It's just really. Oh, it's
like a sexy goat.
It's being flown into me.
Like a goat you'd want to do it with.
Yeah. We can see you in the mirror. Hi.
Hey,
Is there a goat
yes.
you don't want to do it with?
It's so good.
Oh, that's
Nice.
fancy.
This is perfect because I needed a refill.
There you go. Eric, what are you drinking tonight?
It's still Victory Sour Monkey.
Nice. A sour
triple.
monkey.
Yeah, I'm not big on sours. It just
Yeah.
kind of, that was all I could find.
It's in the fridge. You gotta go.
Right.
Gotta go through it.
Nico, what's in your...
I started with some tea.
Yeah.
Mm.
Wow, Mr. T.
And then went through a passion fruit La Croix. And now it's smart water to just keep
There you go. Just
the
keep the whistle
lubrication.
wet. Yeah.
I saw Matt's on LaCroix number 2.
Yeah, I just popped open the key lime LaCroix. They've got the... They're
Gotta
doing,
get that SEO going. LaCroix brought to you by.
How great would that be if they wanted to LaCroix, if you're out there and you're listening, and
If
you
you're
wanna
one of the
sponsor
3
this,
people on YouTube right
yeah.
now, that's not me.
Or me, or my brother. Yeah. My brother said he hasn't seen this movie yet, so he's gonna head
Right.
out. So yeah, appreciate that, Luke. We should tell people that these are going to be all spoilers.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
spoiler alert.
Yeah.
There.
Sorry, everybody. Spoilers.
we'll get a nice little opening disclaimer with our intro and
Mhm.
all that. Yeah, that stuff that we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Oops.
But the YouTube game, it's a little bit different, which is nice. But yeah, LaCroix is doing these key lime and limoncello and a couple of other more delicious flavors. So they're not so astringent, but they're quite delicious. I'm getting into it. Then my fridge is full. But
This doesn't bode well for our LaCroix sponsorship, but I'm going to do it anyway.
oh man.
Did you guys remember those memes like a year ago? It was like, because some LaCroix flavors are more potent than others. Like
Sure.
the flavors were like a Skittles truck past the LaCroix factory flavor.
Right.
It's like a hint of a hint of a hint of lime.
Right.
Yeah.
The hintiest hint.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they even are a little tongue in cheek of themselves because they make Lacroix pure,
Right.
which
I
is
have
just
that.
carbonated.
Yeah, it's just,
Yeah.
So
just soda. Yeah.
Just seltzer.
Sometimes you
Yeah,
just want
seltzer water.
I got on a plane one time back when you can get on planes, and I had a LaCroix with me, and the flight attendant goes, "Did you know that those have formaldehyde in them?" And I was like, "There's a lot of reasons why that's not okay to say. For one, no, of course it doesn't have formaldehyde in it. Two, that's just like always a rumor for everything that gets popular." Like when Naked Juice came popular and all those sorts of things, there's always there's formaldehyde in it.
Yeah.
And then two, you're a flight attendant. Shut up.
Yeah.
Like, no, not like that.
Sorry, flight attendants from
That's
America,
not what I
you're
meant.
And then right
working-
after that, you turned the back of the can around and went.
Yeah. Carbonated
Ingredients,
water and
water,
formaldehyde.
carbon
Oh, man.
dioxide. Yep, you're right. It's right there.
That's not what I meant. I didn't mean that you're.
Dihydrous oxygen. Oh god.
I meant she's supposed to make you feel comfortable and safe on a plane, not tell you that you're drinking liquid death. That's what I meant by that,
Or
everybody.
the recycled air and the bacteria
So,
all
you
over
work
the
on a
seats.
death tube, a flying death tube, so don't give me crap.
Don't get mad at my drinking death tube.
And now the flight attendant would say, "Just shut up and sit in your bubble."
Hey, she's like, "What do you do?"
Yeah.
I'm a bartender.
Spray.
At least I was
An
that.
influencer.
Yeah. We're influencing 3 people right now. 2 of which are Nick and I.
Yeah.
I'm influencing myself to drink.
Yeah.
So Eric, if you could change something in The Gentleman to swing it in your favor,
Besides Jason Strong.
besides Jeremy Strong,
Jeremy
I'm just
Strong.
no, because this is a real question because we
Uh,
a lot of times we line up really close, and
Yeah.
then unless we're talking about the Joker. But so I am honestly curious because it's totally acceptable to recognize good work, but then be like, it's not for me, it's just not my flavor. So I am curious to see what would be just something enough of an edge to be like, that might make it okay. To put you on the spot.
I
Don't think
think
too long.
it's the mix of, it's just the whole packaging of the characters. I think it's either you love it or you go,
Sure.
it's just too much. I think that's all it is, and so I think you go, no, I love it because it's unique.
Yeah.
It stands out. It's just for me, it's just kind of a lot. Like the coach and his little squad, his little hip hop squad, like they all had their plaid, like track suits, everything. And so everything is very tailored. It's all out, and it's very creative. I don't want to like crap on it and say it's
Sure.
garbage. I just it's all too much for me. That's all.
No, that's fair. I mean, it's like
It's too
I
much
don't know,
garbage.
compared-
Where like
Louis
McConaughey sits nicely. He's a chill. He's not dressed loudly. He's calm. He has his Lincoln voice going. He's nice and chill. And Charlie Hunnam, it was and all those things are flair. So I don't know. I can't. Yeah, I'm not gonna say they're bad. I just
Well, it's just
for
not
me,
your,
I was like,
not your style, and that's just. I mean, that's just the thing.
it's not my
Yeah.
aesthetic.
Yeah, not your.
While still weirdly, I still thought it looked amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So well
sure.
constructed, well shot film.
Yeah,
Did you see King Arthur yet?
I did. Yep.
Now,
Watched it.
from a costume design standpoint, did you have any thoughts along those lines?
I liked it. Yeah, I'm trying to think.
I mean, like all of Jude Law's
There's
stuff was
a
just
little right. That was
That's
maybe
worth a
more
rewatch
audacious
just to
stuff.
like the armor that Eric Bana wears at the beginning of King Arthur when he faces down the lead mage. It's got this like eagle head or something that comes around on the pauldron. It's awesome. It's so good. Yeah. And it doesn't look like, I don't want to call it hacks. It doesn't look like they cheapened the display thinking like, oh, we're going to shoot him. He's going to be 50 feet away. You're not going to see the detail. Like the suit that he's wearing up close and the suit that he's wearing at a distance looks identical. And they may have done those tricky things, but they didn't cut something back and say, we're going to smooth this over so that we don't have to work with the two systems. Like it's intricate and really good.
For sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like the leather look on his piece and kind of the death dealer look that turns out to be our villain. I liked that. By the end, I kind of thought it took away from Jude Law. I thought it got a little bit too like the end of Wonder Woman, where you're like, okay, it's just the bad guy's going to be dressed in this way, so we're not really going to see the bad guy acting while they're having their struggle. Okay, whatever. So that I wasn't a huge fan of, but I thought the buildup of that, the skull-looking dude was cool. But yeah, no, I thought that movie looked cool. I thought the magic, pretty much everything they did. I mean, the over-the-top snakes were like, okay, it's very CGI here and there, but it's about, that and the bats looked very CGI, but everything else looked pretty good.
Yeah, it had a very similar, like it has that quick pace, Guy Ritchie thing going on. Did it have that same feel of like, ugh, everyone's cool sort of thing to you?
No, this one didn't. I mean, it was really, I feel like it was just Arthur they were kind of playing that angle with. But I was like, well, okay, one character, whatever, it's fine. And I at least like that they gave him that he had the street smarts and he came up a little bit in the criminal element that made him wise to where he could pull off things. And I went, okay, I can buy that he's competent to pull off this stuff and that he can teach these old guys that worked with his dad, he can teach them a thing or two about this, this way of doing business. So I thought that was good. I think where it did get a little more Guy Ritchie-esque, like the very beginning, I don't know that I liked when he's showing when he's the kid and it shows him kind of getting older and filling his coffers and all of that.
His montage.
Right, the montage.
Yeah.
Because, too, it's about the only place where that happens in the movie, so it kind of stands out a little bit.
Yeah.
And I thought it's... I don't know that it meshed, because it feels like such a modern sensibility that to put it something medieval or fantasy, it felt a little out of place for me. But, I still... Overall, that movie I enjoyed. I would say, for me, it was more like kind of fun trash. Was kind of how I would say.
Ooh.
And I know that might sound terrible. I think a lot of it, again, was very competent, but I think it had some of the same pitfalls, again, like the bad guy at the end fight, kind of for me, was like, this kind of felt a little more on the generic side. Certain things kind of felt like they fell a little more into the generic blockbuster thing.
Yeah.
Which, it's hard not to do. I think it's probably hard to... Has anyone made a really great King Arthur movie? Was Excalibur great? Or do people just kind of like it?
I don't really remember it too much.
I think for the time it was good. Yeah, in like the 86 or 87 or whatever, it was like, wow.
Yeah. So this one, I enjoyed it overall.
Well, there's so many that legend in particular has so many twists on it, because there was the one that came out somewhere in the 2000s with Clive Owen and Keira Knightley. Yeah. And they took that legend to just like totally turn it upside down.
Let's say he's Roman. Yeah,
he's a Roman
make
centurion or
Guinevere
something.
like it was very
like a wild
Yeah,
like.
it was a
Yeah.
Yeah.
tick or
So-
something, yeah.
So I think in general, when it was almost like I wouldn't have seen King Arthur if it wasn't Guy Ritchie, because I think it would fall into like the Little Women thing that we talked about. Like, how many more times can you retell Little Women?
Yeah.
Like,
I
how?
think he should
how
make
is it-
Little Women.
At least
Oh
one
my
more time.
God, then I would love it. And
Yeah.
if they're all dressed in wacky ways and they're all like, "Oh, I want, oh yeah, I'm a little woman too." Oh, this little woman.
Dude, I love it.
Oh,
Guy Ritchie, if you're
that-
listening.
I
Make it happen.
Yeah.
make
Well, we
Little
would up a
Women.
viewer. Maybe it's Guy Ritchie.
Make-
Maybe
I won't say it. Little C words. That's
Cockneys.
So suddenly it's South London instead of, or like whatever the North Shore in London is.
all right.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. Oh, Guy Ritchie, you've got your next script. We'll
Yeah,
write
I'm
it
just
for
gonna
you.
say it.
There
If-
it is.
Guy Ritchie does a version of The Little Women, I'll be there at the midnight showing.
Yeah.
I
You know,
would
well,
be
except
too.
we can't go to movie theaters anymore. But yeah,
Yeah, but if there was one.
I
I'll
will
rent that
dress up
shit on
in a
demand.
plaid.
I think that's a testament to his work, though. That right, we can make a joke about him doing Little Women, but we're all seriously going, I might,
I'd
you
watch
know,
that. Yeah.
I would watch that.
Because I think for
Yeah.
me, it would be him parodying himself and taking that on. I
Right.
feel so.
Yeah.
Then I would be like, cool, do it,
Yeah.
go
Yeah,
all.
definitely.
Well, it's
Sounds
you would
great.
know too that what Guy Ritchie does, which is really great. And we talked about it was, it didn't the way that he uses swear words, not just the English like language itself, but the way that he in particular. I mean, he does repeat certain swear words for sure, but there's almost this like poetic way that he leads into it, and you know a swear word's coming, but you're not like, oh, that doesn't offend me. Like it's
Yeah.
he's calling something horrendous, but it always is so smooth. And even in King Arthur, when they're doing it, it's just so smooth.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have the same punch as like just dropping the F-bomb on somebody, even though they do it. Because I think King Arthur,
I don't even
at one point-
remember in King Arthur.
Well, in King Arthur,
I don't
it's
think he did
such
in
a-
King Arthur at
he-
all.
one time,
Really?
Jude Law
the T
Jude
word
Law is
constantly.
talking to the sheriff, and he says, so here comes the censor flag. He says, "Do your fucking job." That's it. That's the the only time he said, and it's
Right.
out of place, but in place at the same time, because he's basically just like, how hard is it to find this guy that we've already had like 3 times?
Yeah.
Oh, do your job, man. And it doesn't have to be like this eloquent swear word. It's just. So yeah, I caught it last night when I watched it. Like that's the one just hard swear.
Yeah.
The rest are this like poetic. Like, wait, did he just call him up? Okay, okay.
The first time I ever heard the C word was Sexy Beast. Did you see that one with Ben Kingsley? I watched it
Oh, long time
in
ago.
the theater in college. And I may or may not have been I was a good kid back then. And I'm like sitting in the theater and Ben Kingsley is dying on the ground, like yelling the C word at people. And I'm just like, oh, I don't know if I like this.
And all
I
of
need
a
to
sudden
go
you
home
have a
and
blanket.
pray now.
Yeah, I brought my blanket.
Matt,
with
where'd
me.
you get that blanket?
Yeah.
This is my swear blanket.
Yeah. The swear words can't get in if I
I
put it
keep
on.
it in my keep it in my fanny pack.
And now I just love it. It's just delicious.
I felt like the character in The Gentleman that was the best at the swearing was his wife.
Oh yeah.
That was awesome.
That the accent, like that's considered Cockney accent, right?
I think
Her-
someone
yeah.
talking.
Somewhere in
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Is she actually British, or because she's
So,
also the wife in Defending
Dockery?
Jacob?
I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. But it was weird, because I've been watching Defending Jacob, and then when I watched Gentleman again a couple days ago for this, I was like, "Oh, damn, that's her," and she sounds
Mhm.
completely different.
Yeah, the
So-
acting coaches in England are much better than the acting coaches in America.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's why they always hire British actors to play Americans.
It's an interesting thing, and I've tried for a very long time to put my finger on it, what it is. Oh, that's who she is. Got it. Like the whole time I'm watching The Gentleman, I'm like,
In Downton Abbey, you
Wait.
can say it.
no, easy. Yes, she is, but she was in Godless. She's fantastic in that show. If you've not watched it yet,
such a good show.
yeah, a little sort of just mini series on Netflix, and starring the guy who's in the new Anna Kendrick show on HBO Max. But it's a great show. But she's amazing in it. So
everyone should watch Godless.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Maybe
Nice.
we'll watch it again.
Smoking hot tip of the week.
Yeah, there it is. We're gonna have a smoking.
Get my curse blanket ready.
Yeah, get your C word blanket ready. there's a little bit of that. What was I saying before I got off topic? Oh, English actors. There is some kind of sincerity that just exists within the British actor that isn't quite as prevalent in our society, I guess, and so there's an ability to that I think that a lot of British actors and actresses are just not afraid to make themselves look bad. They don't feel the desire to just to always be the star and to tend to always look good, and so that gives them the ability to be more of a chameleon and just to sort of blend in and disappear a little bit more and become the character that they're playing. And I think, I mean, not to say that we don't have that within our own culture, but and it's a smaller island, and they take acting more seriously as a craft. If you talk to I just listened to a podcast with Damian Lewis, and I mean, his whole goal in life was just to be an actor at Royal Shakespeare Company. That was it. That's what he wanted to do. And he had no design to be a movie actor because he was just like, I don't think that's for me. I'm not a Hollywood guy. And so what that allowed him to do was become a chameleon. And most people don't even know what his real voice sounds like because he always plays Americans. I mean, he played
It's Robot.
yeah, his real accent is robot.
Or real mousy.
I am Damien.
Hello.
Well, the British
With
actors.
less boops.
Well, British actors, not more willing to make themselves look bad or aren't worried about it. But I mean, I just think in general the Brits are much less squeamish than Americans.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Especially
their
their shows and movies.
Mm-hmm.
Much less squeamish. So
Yeah.
that's probably part of it too. I think it's a culture thing.
Because even though, I'll forever just talk about how much better the British office is than the American one. I shouldn't even say it that way because it's not really that. It's just two different shows. I shouldn't even compare them because the whole point was to make a spinoff, create one in the States and see if it takes. And Gervais and Merchant are just fine with every country making a version of their show.
Cha-ching.
But what made The Office so great is one, they're so weird about their series. With The Office, it's 12 episodes plus a Christmas special, and it's gone. So there's no cash grab. There's nothing like that going on. There's not 10 seasons of 24 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
But they also are okay with going places in their TV shows in that 19 minutes that we just don't go to, and being okay with the characters saying and doing horrible things that you could potentially be offended by, but the joke is always on the character, not on the thing that they're saying or doing. And I think
the Gareth character in the UK office would be written up by HR multiple times in America every week. Dwight and Gareth are not the same character, even though they're technically the same character idea. But that character, he does some stuff that is terminable offense type stuff in America that they just be like, you can't do that. There's even the little toy he gets where is he jerking off in the bathroom? Is that little it's like a wind up toy?
Oh, what was that? Oh, the guy, the toy that gets a boner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that would not. No, that's not going to fly through the sensors here.
Yeah.
That's not even a thing.
Well, there's a whole sequence where they're hiding a dildo in David Brent's office, and even though they're that's not appropriate, that's not okay, they're just just don't do it again. Here it would just be let's just fire him.
Here's a box. There's your stuff. Get out.
Yeah, exactly.
They're basically about to call the police.
Yeah, It's crazy. It's just a different world. But I think the British actors are so. I mean, I love look like Carey Mulligan is a good example of a British actor who's a bit of a chameleon. You see her in things, and you just don't even know. Like, is she American? Like, I can't tell what her thing is. And
Right.
she's just so good at blending in and disappearing. And even like that movie Mudbound, she was amazing in. And Shame. If you haven't seen Shame, I think that's like one of her most amazing performances. Her and Michael Fassbender both playing
Oh yeah.
very.
Saw that movie once.
And Americans.
I saw that movie and I couldn't tell if I liked it or if I was appalled or both.
Right. It's and it's kind of
Yeah.
both. Yeah, it's like I liked it, but
I liked it, but I also am ashamed that I liked it.
Right.
I'm never gonna admit out loud,
Did it for us.
There's a couple of movies in the lexicon of things that I've seen where you have to gauge where you're at in a relationship, just relationships in general, not a relationship, but you have to gauge how well you know somebody before you talk about certain movies. And there's a classic one.
Yeah,
we'll bring
episode
up-
9 is one of them.
Yeah. But there's a couple. There are movies that you have to be very careful.
Debbie does Duluth. You gotta be real.
Yeah, you got to be really careful.
Don't just toss
No,
that
no,
one
like,
around in a donut
yeah, like
shop.
Shame is one of those. There's a movie called Irreversible that you have to be very careful when you
I've
talk
seen
about
it.
if you enjoyed that movie. It's you know what, make it your homework, but
Yeah.
I warned you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like, now I have to go into it, but it's not like Human Centipede where like everyone knows that this
Everyone's
movie-
into this.
Jack-
We don't
yeah,
even have to worry.
yeah, everyone knows it's a jacked up film, whatever. Irreversible's got this, it's like a Memento-esque reverse timeline
Mhm.
where something terrible happens and something terrible happens, and do this.
Reverse human centipede.
Yeah, Human
That's my
Centipede,
favorite kind.
human larva.
Which is the front, which is the back.
Yeah, but it's. I know what you mean though. There's movies you have to be very careful.
I love that you just brought that up, so you have to be very careful and judge how you are in relationships before you bring this movie up, but you just said it on YouTube Live.
Sure did.
You're welcome, YouTube.
Don't care.
I'm looking at you.
No,
Looking
it's
at all
out
three
there.
of you.
Well, no, but because I think what movie were we talking about? It was something we were talking about the other day about how sometimes you need to watch a movie just to broaden your spectrum of appreciation or like the lens you use when you look at stuff. I don't remember what movie it was. It wasn't. I'm getting so confused because when I run in the morning, I listen to one podcast and then I watch the podcast on YouTube, but they never sync up. They're always out of sync. So I don't remember if we were talking about Cats or something. And it was like, it's not a great movie, but you need to see it just to like reframe your point of reference on what is good and what isn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there are movies out there like Shame or we talked about Manchester by the Sea that somebody's like, oh, is that a good movie? And you're like, well,
Yeah.
I mean, if by good you mean, are you happy when you leave? Then no, it's a terrible movie. But it's good because it's not supposed to make you happy.
That's a really interesting point. I think that when you talk about movie going or movie watching, and sort of why do you watch movies? I think sometimes you can feel like if I was just a casual movie watcher and watched them for pure entertainment alone, yeah, a movie like Manchester by the Sea, I would just be like, that was terrible. It made me feel disgusting. I didn't like it. The characters were unsympathetic and not enjoyable to watch. I didn't like it. But looking at it from a filmmaking perspective, looking at it from a storytelling perspective, and from just all the things you know about how movies are made, it made it palatable, ingestible, and I enjoyed it. And that's the thing. You can't even say you enjoyed it. It's like I didn't enjoy a movie about, someone's house burning down and killing his family. But I was willing to go on the journey with the actors or with the characters because I thought it was worth it, because I thought the movie was interesting enough to do that. But when you do go in to a movie You know what? Before we started this, I told myself I wasn't going to bring up anything Tarantino, but whatever.
Here we
We've
go.
already said his name like 8 times. So.
Right. When you
Somebody
go
brought
into,
up Joker, so
Yeah.
it's fine.
You mean garbage clown? So when you go into a movie like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I'm going into it with all of the things. I want to be entertained. I want to go along for the ride, all that stuff. So it's sort of like a full package. But you're never going to lose your sense of why you watch movies. That's never going to go away. I can never just watch it from the perspective of someone who knows nothing about how they're made. So I'm just never going to have that again. So I'm going to. But the thing is it enriches the way that you watch movies. You hear more. You know, when Brad Pitt's slamming people's heads against glass and against the fireplace, you're like, that is some great sound design. I mean, that is a nice soft cabbage that somebody was punching in the Foley studio. But it colors your way of watching these. But so I was just by the water cooler and I was like, hey, do you guys see Shame? Wow, that was a good one. Yeah,
Right?
it comes off weird, but I'm saying it from a completely different perspective than your normal average moviegoer would be saying it.
Yeah, if your mom sends you a text or even on Facebook, because I do my review stuff, that somebody will be like, "Hey, I'm going to go see these movies. What should I see?"
Mm-hmm.
And it's that time of year where it's like, there's nothing for you right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like what I know of you, there's nothing for you. I'm sorry. You need to rent something on Netflix. You need to go to Netflix because I'm not going to say, oh, definitely see Shame or like sometimes that just happens.
Yeah.
And, people ask me like, we're debating on A or B. It's like, those are two very far apart things here. Like, I don't know. Is this a date or
Right. Yeah.
Like, are you planning on eating after this? Because don't see that one.
I almost went on
like
a date. I almost went on a first date, by the way, to see, what was the Darren Aronofsky movie with Mila Kunis and
Black Swan.
Black Swan. Yeah.
Whoops.
Glad
See,
that
that's
it
another
didn't.
one where it's like, that is a great.
That would be one of the better ones
Yeah.
of his to go on a date.
True,
at
not
least.
me. A mother wouldn't
fair.
be. High
That's
on
probably
the
the
list.
best one.
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
even
That's
Pi
a
or
great
something.
movie, but
Yeah.
again, water cooler. The boss goes by like, "Hey, so I'm seeing a movie this weekend. What should I watch?" You don't be like, "Oh, you want to watch Mila
see
Kunis masturbate Natalie Portman? Cool. Go see Black Swan."
Yeah, it's like everybody has those friends where it's like, what should I go see? Nothing. The next Avengers doesn't come out for 6 months.
Yeah.
Right.
You just gotta wait
Yeah.
till
Right.
Christmas.
You're just gonna have to hold on.
I was talking to a dude who, before Endgame came out, he did the chronological, like in the universe chronological watch of all the Marvel movies.
Oh
Wow.
God.
Yeah, that I was like, I give you major props, dude. That's a great, that's a feat.
All
Who
the
has that kind
scenes,
of
because
time?
some guy just figured out the scenes in order, and like so the movies are all jumbled because
God.
the scenes, the bit flashbacks and flash forwards and crap. Yeah,
Wow.
it was like it's just because of the quarantine, and everyone went whatever, nerd.
Yeah.
Just
Thanks for uploading a
inexcusable.
24-hour file to YouTube.
Like
Wow.
Matt, I don't know if
amazing.
I ever told you this. I know I haven't told Nick or Eric, but I don't know if I ever told you this. I have this. I'm going to do it someday. This is quasi-related, but not at the same time. But anyway, I'm going to do it. I have this goal of this thing I want to try. I want to try to make the 3 Back to the Future movies like one movie. I want to try to take all 3 and I was going to do it once and I didn't for some reason, but my old roommate actually downloaded all 3 of the movies for me, and I was going to do it, and I was going to try to cut them into one cohesive movie and make it make sense with timelines and everything.
How'd you do
I never
that?
did it, but I still want to do it.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, yeah.
So it's kind of like we were
So
just
would
saying.
you start with 3? Would you go chronological, or how would you be cutting it?
I don't know if it would be like, I think it still have to be chronological from Marty in certain things, but also like, I don't know.
Right, because it's his timeline that is affected.
But I had it all written down at one point. I don't know where that is now, but I was actually going to do it. I was going to try to make it into like, a half hour or an hour and a half to 2 hour, like one movie.
Wow.
Through
And I
the
still-
principal's point of view.
Yeah.
Strickland.
Strickland and
That guy ever have hair?
Lawman Strickland. Yeah.
Dude, that'd be insane. I think you should definitely do it.
What would you cut?
Yeah, the first
Like-
one's so great. That's tough to.
Yeah, I mean, like the first one is my favorite movie of all time still, but people ask me like, how do you rate the three? I was like, well, as they came out,
Mhm.
like
Yeah, sure.
that's
1, 2,
the
3.
order.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1, 2,
Yeah,
3.
I didn't hate 3, but I feel like my
Oh,
friends
no, I
out
don't-
here like
I-
3.
I don't hate 3 at all, but it is not as good as the other 2, and 2 is not as good as 1.
2
and-
I was not a fan of. Yeah, I don't know. It was the
I
future,
just-
the wacky future.
Yeah.
I just wanted a
Wasn't a
hoverboard.
fan of.
But see, that's what everybody.
Oh,
I mean, and it's nostalgia future because it's
Oh,
an old
God.
future, so now everyone's into it. Yeah, the Nike.
Yeah,
I like
Anyway,
how
I'm
many times people fakely were like, "It's the future date," and it happened like 8 times before that it was the future date. So everyone's like, "Oh, now it is for real."
Yeah, whatever.
Let's know for my 30th birthday, Natalie hired a Back to the Future DeLorean to drive me to my surprise party, right?
So
Have you guys
awesome.
ever
Yeah.
Pictures?
I've seen that picture. Yeah.
Well, like, because I was gonna hire them to drive me to work, but my 30th birthday, wasn't actually on a work day, and then so I didn't do it. But then she this is a funny story. So sorry, Mom, if you're listening to this, which you're not.
Only
I had
three
no
people
idea
are.
I had no idea what Natalie was getting for my birthday. And I was like, oh, did you fly my mom in? And don't get me wrong, I love my mom, but that wasn't exactly the kind of night I wanted to have for my 30th birthday party.
Fair.
So, like an idiot, I gave my girlfriend Natalie the perfect thing to like just lead me on about. She's like, okay, I'm going to go pick up, your mom from the airport, act surprised. And then she texts me. She's like, okay, I'm there. And I go outside. I was like, okay. I love my mom, but this wasn't exactly the kind of night I wanted to have. And then the DeLorean is there, like all Back to the Futured out, like all lit up. I'm like,
Wow.
And the funny thing was the guy you guys is actually, there's a kind of a cool documentary. It's called Back in Time, and the guy's in there.
Mhm.
It's like he
Nice.
built this. Yeah. And he was the guy driving, and Natalie told me later, like the guy was worried. Is like, is he going to know to get in the car? And I was like, if I go outside to see a DeLorean, I don't care if it's not for me. I'm getting in the damn.
Doesn't matter who's
The only
Yeah,
7
they're gonna
times you've
have
been
to tell me not
arrested is
to.
when you crawled into
Yeah.
DeLorean.
Like, oh no, I'm opening that damn door.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know how we went from the
Was it
gentleman.
cold? Was it icy cold?
No, it wasn't. And
Was
the
it movie accurate? Boo.
funny story, that car's not a V8. They added that sound post. It's a V6, and it was burning oil like crazy.
Just smell like oil.
Yeah, big time.
Not
Probably all
garbage.
the extra weight that's attached to it too.
Yeah.
That's funny.
That's pretty cool though. So it's all decked out, lights and sounds.
So
Yeah,
it had the flux
Had it
capacitor.
done up. Like, I guess several people did that, but I think it was just a giant cash grab for 2015 because we were hitting that date. So I think a bunch of people did it. It was just a gigantic cash grab. And he's told me, I asked him, I was like, are you busy? He's like, oh, dude, you
Yeah.
have no idea.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's fun.
I'm sure he's like, come on, baby, hold together, get me through this year,
Daddy
You
can't
can't-
afford to fix you.
get me to October 15th or whatever. What's the date? Yeah, I can't remember what it was.
That's great.
And he put my actual birthday on the time circuits. And I was like,
that's
okay, well, if we die in a car crash right now, I'm good. I'm done.
Oh, that's cool. That's a good touch.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know how we went from Guy Ritchie to Back to the Future, but
It's okay. I'm comfortable with that.
Did you take a
Logical
Polaroid of you and then you took it and then you tried to show people, but then you disappeared by the time you tried to show people? They're like, wow, this was an amazing experience.
that's
so
damn. That's
lifelike.
I should have taken a picture of it, like as if I was posing with it, but I'm not there, and just like show it to people and like, see, look, here's my picture. Oh crap, it's erased.
Yeah.
It never happened.
Just your shoes.
I have like a series of photos, and I show them to different people at different times.
like the longest prank.
And you
con
push a button
ever.
in your pocket, and you hear ting-ling-ling-ling.
Like the 2-year prank, like like a 2-year prank that only I find funny.
The best kind.
Right. It's not the best kind.
Charlie Kaufman, everybody.
Oh man.
So I just got an Apple TV, the new version today. So
Nice.
yeah, so set up all my apps and everything else. Well worth it. It's kind of nice having everything in one place. And
Yeah,
you know,
Apple TVs are awesome.
yeah, and also looks so good, and it talks to the TV. So next stop is a better TV. I think I'm gonna have
Sure.
to upgrade the old TV. 'Cause, you know, it knows, you can tell it to match like HDR content. You can tell it to match frame rate, which I will absolutely never do. Yeah, because it's just, I did that just because I wanted to see what it looked like, and I was like, I'm gonna see what the 4K HDR match the frame rate thing looks like, and it's just even the show I was watching was not something that needs to be cinematic, but when it wasn't, you're just like, well, this is awful. And so yeah, but it's cool. It's really, really cool. But creepy feature was, so as I'm logging into my apps on the Apple TV, even setting up the Apple TV, it was just like, just hold your phone next to it and it'll log in for you.
Yeah,
Like, and
right.
you're like, really? And so you just like turn on the Bluetooth and you put your phone next to it and it's like, hello, Matthew. And then you log into Netflix and it's like, no need to log in. Just open the Netflix app and push a button and it'll sync it. I'm like, this is great. In the future.
I had that moment when I got my AirPods for my birthday this year. You like pull AirPods out of the box and open the lid for the very first time, and it pops up on your phone and just automatically connects. It says Brian's AirPods. I'm like, I didn't tell it that at all. How is this possible?
Stop it.
Yeah, what?
Brian, and this address with this, all this
Yeah.
piece of information. You're like, I never told anyone that in my life.
You pick up your swear blanket. Swear blanket.
Can we make Smoking Hot Nerds branded swear blankets, please?
Yeah, definitely. I think we definitely need some merch. That would be
Yeah,
fantastic.
get a Teespring
Flash,
story going.
Blanket blankets.
Yeah.
Spanking blankets.
Whoa. Whoa.
We'll call them centipede blankets just to clean up after.
Shame blankets.
Yeah, shame blankets. There you go.
I love the idea of having.
Oh,
some
speaking of
merch.
that, so funny
Speaking
story.
of shame blankets.
Well, it's funny because you.
Oh, don't get me started.
Yeah, right. When you were talking about how you were watching Sexy Beast and there was the scene that you were just like, When I first saw American Beauty in the theater,
I'm sure.
I was with 4 or 5 people, and the scene where the real estate king and his wife are going to town in a motel, 2 of the people I was with got up and left.
Nice.
They left the theater. And that's in the first third of that movie.
Yeah.
It's also
And-
really fast.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
and
quick.
so
I mean, it's
they
just like
got up and left, and
Oh.
I was not going to leave, so I finished it, and then we get out, and they were sitting right outside the theater, and I was like, "Are you guys okay?" They're like, "That is just no." I was like, "Well, I'm sorry you feel that way, but you missed the best movie of the year."
Yeah. Right.
That movie at the time, even today, holds up. Just like
Oh,
that
yeah.
was, you've missed the best film of the year. They're like, that. No, I'm sorry. That is. They were very religious. They're like, no, that is adultery. And this
You
not
missed where? Then she was on top, and then they were both on their sides. You missed the best.
Yeah, it was just really, it was really funny that it's interesting how in watching some movies. I have another story about people walking out, but how some movies can be just so transparent, and neutral, and they don't affect you whatsoever, and they can do the most asinine crap, and you'll sit through start to finish. But then some movies are so strongly driven on a message that somebody will get offended and leave. I was talking to way back. I was on a first date. And we were at.
Did your wife know about this?
This is pre-wife, and it is not my wife. But we were at a bar and we were some friends, and we were talking about seeing the movie. What are you doing this weekend? Like, oh, I'm going to go see The Golden Compass. Oh, I'm sorry, no, I can't. This date's over. It's like,
Oh, really?
what? She's like, yeah, that book is against the Bible. Like,
Oh yes,
okay, like
love it.
it's like, and part of me was like, well, then this is
Bullet dodge, bro.
anyway.
Yeah.
But it was really interesting because it's like, I asked her, it's like, well, what is the problem? And she went on this huge pre-scripted tirade about
what
it.
she was told to hate about it.
Yes, and so I asked her, I was like, so do you really think that seeing this one movie is going to be enough to shake your entire foundation?
Mhm.
She's like, I don't want to risk it. Like, cool, bye. Like, let me tell you about a little Kevin
neither.
Smith film called Dogma. Then, 'cause-
CGI polar bears will destroy my belief in God.
yeah, talking animals.
If there's
we're done
one
here.
thing that will do it, it's CGI polar bears.
Yeah.
I mean, the Polar
So
Express that rocked
it's
me to my
armor.
core.
Well, that's the most terrifying movie of all time.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, my view was CGI.
The
polar
hollow
bears.
insides of their mouths is the stuff.
Uncanny Valley is
Yeah.
when they're at the Santa's village and all the kids, they're all happy.
Yeah,
That's
it's rough.
Nightmare.
As was said in The Gentleman, that's nightmare fuel.
Yeah,
Is that-
right.
Blood and feathers everywhere.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, that's good stuff. Anywho's,
Yeah.
The Gentleman's a good movie.
But
It is good.
anyway,
But anyway,
It's
So
hard to
Star
circle.
Wars.
Yeah. So, well, I
Once
was
upon
going
a
to
time in
ask
Hollywood.
earlier. The foundation of The Gentleman was sort of it was economics, and it was something that it was an economic driving, something that was driving the movie, and it immediately made me think when we started talking about it that it was like that was the foundation of the Phantom Menace. It was all economics, right? But
Trade Factory.
but Guy Ritchie managed to make it better.
I don't know how he did,
Yeah.
but he took Phantom Menace.
Okay,
and
so-
improved upon
And he
it.
improved
That
it.
should be your review of this movie.
I know who the three
Nailed it.
directors are of the next Star Wars trilogy. Taika Waititi, which they've already announced. Then we got to do a Guy Ritchie one,
Mhm.
and then Quentin's going to polish it off.
Ooh,
Oh God.
I'll watch those. Yeah.
Right? Come on.
Sounds good to me. I would love to see
Well, I
like a Guy
you
Ritchie
could have had-
style.
Like
Guy
Kathleen
Ritchie
Kennedy,
do
wake up.
Solo, that would have been good.
With who?
If Guy Ritchie had done Solo,
Yeah, that.
Oh, yeah.
Would have rolled with that. for
that's
sure.
that's a little like it's the smooth violence, the rough edges that aren't so rough. Yeah,
Yeah.
that would have been right up his alley.
I've been
You could do
alright.
Dash Rendar.
Hey, there you go. Shadows of the Empire. That was the only outside of the trilogy thing that I got into. Was I read the book and then I was super into the game. The game was super fun.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was like the first game that you started feeling like, ooh,
Yeah.
this is like
That was like N64, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I played that.
Because it had a pretty successful third-person shooter feel to it, so it
Mhm.
felt good, and yeah, the sound effects were good, and yeah,
Was that the beginning of the Rogue Squadron stuff? Like it had a couple of missions where you
think
take
so.
think so.
at, and yeah, so that was the precursor
yeah,
of that.
yeah. You could actually play as a snow speeder
Mhm.
in it for one mission because you're on Hoth. Because it kind of intertwined that into the original trilogy a little bit.
Yep.
Well, yeah, I remember the character you were playing meets up with Luke Skywalker at one point. Like, not
Mhm.
much happens, but I remember like it's a cutscene where you meet Luke Skywalker like on Tatooine or something.
Yeah, it was the start of horrible names. Dash Rendar, not the best, not the worst, but Maz Kanata right up there with it.
It's not any worse than Porkins.
Yeah, that's a good point. They couldn't
And then you cast a fat guy
the fattest guy you can find.
who barely fits in a helmet.
Yeah,
Porkins, like that was a softball. Come
Yeah,
on,
I just
now.
really
And then after when he blew up, everyone's like, "Ooh, what's that smell? Ooh, I'm getting hungry." They're like,
This is intergalactic bacon.
now I just want to see a Guy Ritchie Star Wars movie.
If you'd done Solo, then we're talking. That's a great
Yeah.
idea. Did you see that there's a new
Kathleen Kennedy would fire him in a heartbeat.
Oh, for sure.
What are
Because-
you doing with Star Wars?
call little Ronnie Howard? He'll fix it.
Well, she would just make Lawrence Kasdan be on set again, and he would complain. It's like they just said this. Han Solo just said the C word. Guy, Kathleen, we got a problem.
Right. Yeah.
Aurelia?
Correct.
The stormtrooper sounds like Colin Farrell.
He has glasses on over his.
He's
helmet.
got he's not white. He's plaid.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing.
Did you see the trailer for the new Star Wars game show, the kids game show,
Yeah, the
What?
Hidden
the
Temple
Jedi
style.
Temple Challenge?
What is that real or
It's
is it
real.
Is it a fan trailer?
And
Do you-
guess who hosts it? Here, just
Yeah.
guys,
Yeah, you
take,
guys should
take
guess.
a couple guesses.
Give you guys a couple guess who's the
So
host.
so the plot of the show is it's essentially Hidden Temple,
Yes,
but it's Star Wars themed.
exactly.
Let me ask.
And there is a
one-
Jedi host
Will Arnett is the
that's
host.
has been in Star Wars movies.
He's been in Star
That's
Wars.
been-
Yep.
The guy, the really bad actor that played the guy that we thought was hitting on Ray, but no, he was actually just telling her that he was force sensitive.
John Boyega.
Yeah, John Boyega. He's the
Nope.
host.
Oh no, he's not gonna touch Star Wars ever again.
So
Keep going.
it is a Jedi that has been in the film.
He's playing a Jedi.
It is a person who is playing a Jedi.
He's playing
in
the
this.
Jedi Master in the show, in this show, in the
Oh,
kids show.
okay.
But he has been a part of Star Wars
Mm-hmm.
movies.
Is he? Did he survive Order 66?
Yes.
It's not Obi-Wan.
No.
Can't be Ewan McGregor. No.
No.
It's Ewan McGregor.
You
It's
guys
just
got it.
Liam Neeson.
Yeah.
It's just Liam Neeson just drunk and pissed off on. I would watch that.
I would definitely
It's
watch that.
Liam Neeson playing his bad cop character from the Lego movie, playing what's his damn name in Phantom Menace?
Yeah,
Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
Qui-Gon Jinn.
It's Liam Neeson playing his bad cop character from the Lego movie, playing Qui-Gon Jinn.
Correct.
Is it?
Dude,
it's-
the best Liam Neeson. Have you seen Extras? Or is it no? Or is it This Life's Too Short? It was Gervais and Merchant's show after
Yeah.
Extras, and they're like sitting down with Liam Neeson in the office. And Liam Neeson's like, "I want to try improv. I want to try
I
improv.
think I could be
improv
really
comedy.
funny.
I could be really funny." Like, well, let's try it. And then like Gervais like sets him up, and he's like, "Oh, I'm not
Like,
doing too
look,
good
you're a-
today." So
Yeah,
well, why
right. You're a
not?
grocer. You're like a green.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, good. Yeah, I'm not
So
doing so
my-
well. But why?
my final answer is:
Because
Is it? Is
You're gonna let me
Hayden
finish the story?
Christensen?
No, it's not.
Is it an actor playing themselves as a Jedi, or is
No.
it a Jedi character being played
You're,
by a
you're
different
getting
actor?
hung up on.
I might be going
Jedi.
too far.
Yeah, we shouldn't have told you.
It's
Because
just the
it's
host
Jedi.
is playing a Jedi.
The host is like a Jedi Master because it's a
but
bunch
that
of little
doesn't
kids, right?
mean
Is he
that
in
this
makeup?
person played a Jedi in the movies that he was in.
He didn't play Jedi in the movies.
Oh, yeah, I was getting hung up on that.
There. So let me finish our story. So, anyways, Liam Neeson.
Talk amongst yourselves.
Yeah.
Finishing
I'll
our.
give you a topic.
Brian, do you
Okay,
have a
who is
guess?
it? Damn it.
Qui-Gon is neither Qui nor God.
Yeah.
This guy.
All right, you ready? Are
Yeah.
you sure you want to know?
Oh yeah.
I've already been hurt. It's fine.
Well, no, I think it's brilliant. It's a
It's
wonderful
not Jake
move.
Lloyd, is it?
No, it's Ahmed
Okay,
Best.
former.
Yeah, that's close. Ahmed Best, who played what the Jar Jar
Misa
Binks?
back.
Are you
Oh,
serious?
no.
Yeah.
Oh, but yeah.
Yeah, like
Oh.
basically, it's for that reason. It's like let's bring him back, and and he's like super good sport about it because he was such like obviously it was a hated character, but giving him a chance to be like a better part of Star Wars, I think. So
Is he doing it as Jar Jar Binks?
no,
Or
he's
just
playing
him?
a Jedi Master who's like the host.
But
of
it's the
show.
guy who played.
But he's still going to do the voice, right?
I hope so.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, his voice, when you hear him talk, it's just, you're like, he's Jar Jar. Like, it's there to get, he exaggerated with the Jar Jar voice, but his voice is
I thought he
already
just had a normal voice.
a lot towards just,
There's probably inflections.
I should say it's just, it's how his voice sounds, the
Yeah.
timbre of his voice, more than, it's not like he, says,
I never would have
he's
gotten
a
there.
going boom boom. Yeah, he doesn't,
Too bad.
that's not how he just talks to his friends. But.
What so we'll free plug the show.
Hey, Ahmed,
What-
how's it
what
hanging?
channel
We
is it
should
gonna
go
be
to
on?
the bar.
Yep, you're always going boom boom.
All the time. Too much.
What
boom boom on
What
there.
is this on? Is this a Netflix show or something?
No.
I think it's just like
Disney
the Star
Plus.
Wars website. I don't think it's even Disney. It's not like on Disney Plus. I don't think I saw it.
I think Star
It's
Wars
not gonna
Kids.
be on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
No, yeah, unfortunately, Star Wars Kids I think is on is a YouTube channel. I think.
Okay.
I don't know.
Ugh.
Yeah. So no, it's
That's
gonna be
fine.
good. I think that it's a great move.
I hope that, yeah. Well, I think he has found peace. He did a piece. He had an interview where he talked about how he almost jumped off a bridge straight up
No.
because of,
Oh,
like he
terrible.
almost ended it. He was like, because it was like such a, he was like, oh, you know, like him, Jake Lloyd's life is, that
Mhm.
guy is ruined.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was
Well,
bad. So Ahmed
yeah, I
came
mean-
out of it. He had a kid.
Oh.
He's like, he's a much better place.
That's horrible.
Robot Chicken kind of like said, "Hey, let's use you," and so
Yeah.
he's had a road back to.
Can you just like what if our show was really popular and everybody loved it, and then suddenly everybody got mad at something I said, like, you know, that stewardesses should be nice, and all of a sudden, like, it's just
That is kind of grounds in 2020.
vitriol. I should, flight attendants, what I should have said, but it's just. Can you believe?
Dude, you're
like,
blowing it.
I know. Can you
You
imagine
guys are
just being the
Southwest
center of?
sponsorship.
And that's not even in the social media age. We're talking about a time when it wasn't everyone on Instagram and Reddit and Twitter going nuts. You know, that's how bad it was then. Now everybody's got to have their own personal brand, and you just sit there and you take it from keyboard warriors all day long. Just different world, man.
You didn't even
Yeah.
get like the Kelly Trend hate, man.
Ugh.
The what?
The Rose character. who
Oh,
played
right.
Rose.
Yeah, that's exactly what she got the same thing, but just directly at her, like deleting.
Non-stop.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, like-
it'd be a good problem to have. Is I will never be on a press junket where I'm asked the same questions by 90 different news outlets.
Yeah.
It'd be a great problem to have. But I love watching on YouTube when they have outtakes from there, and like I think Chris Evans is super good about it, but he will always give the person like one chance
Mm-hmm.
because they'll be like, you're gonna ask me what's my favorite part of the film, who's the
Mhm.
best to work with, well, how was the direct. You're gonna get the same questions. That's fine. It's part of the job. You made $1 million something. Suck it up. Deal with it. But he'll always give them that one chance of when somebody screws up and be like, he'll give them the look like, you want to roll that back? You want to
Mm-hmm.
one more shot? You want to try to? You know, I play Captain America, not Iron Man, right? Like that kind of thing. Where it's like, you sure you don't want to maybe just.
Sure, you want to go down this road?
Yeah, but I can't imagine when because for Last Jedi, I think is her name Kelly Tran? Is that right? Who played Rose?
Yeah, I think you're right.
Okay, good. I'm sorry, Kelly Tran. I think she had to go on those junkets. Like she had to be part of that
Mm.
because of her introduction into this series. I'm sure she was involved in all of that. So to go from this high stress, repetitive question, da 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 da, and then all of a sudden just vitriol
Yeah.
must have been like a horrendous
Yeah.
day.
Yeah, it's terrible,
Just-
man.
Just especially when, because that's all pre. That's before the movies come out. So
Right.
they're getting all the nonsense of people who haven't seen it.
Mhm.
And then she had to go in on the
Yeah,
nonsense
you're
of
only
once
getting
somebody's seen it.
trailer anger
Yeah.
that's starting to bubble. So you can probably
Right.
even then she's probably like, oh, hopefully this dies
Yeah.
when the movie comes out. Oh no, I
Or even
hated
like
Yeah.
the true critics that got screeners or whatever, and then I mean their job is to crap on movies, but yeah, oh man, I feel so bad. Yeah, especially in today's age where the news was exponentially faster
Mhm.
and more heated than like Jar
Well,
Jar. I mean,
and
Jar
just
Jar got bags of garbage,
big.
but
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
She
the
got-
thing with Jar Jar though is like now there's more precedent. Where then that was like this kind of unique thing where it's like people hadn't had Star Wars. They didn't think they were going to have it. No one thought we are going to have more Star Wars. And then it was
Right.
like, oh, it's going to happen. We're going to have more Star Wars. We're all losing our minds. And then it's like, oh, we watched this movie and we hate this thing and we
Yeah.
hate that little kid. And then it's just like, those two people's lives just went
Yeah.
from like the peak of, oh my gosh, I'm in a thing that I loved as a kid to, oh, everyone's telling me that I ruined the thing they love as a kid and that I also loved as a kid.
Right.
Yeah.
And the
Like,
only
that's
way
a-
to fix it is like, how can we fix this? I don't know. Let's
Bring back the Emperor.
Yeah, bring back. We could make Natalie Portman's character sort of a little bit of a pedophile. Great, do it. Done.
Do it.
Yeah. Whatever it
They got
takes.
the international Romeo and Juliet law. Fine.
Yeah, intergalactic. What's the Republic say on
The Republic stands on Romeo and Juliet. Is it
What's the Senate
interspecies? How
say
does
about
that work? I mean, is it like if we're talking about different stars and time cycles? I mean, 17 years on Earth might be like 4 years on the outer rim. So what is age?
Look,
What
Your
is
Honor, that species is an adult by 4. So
So I mean, just
You
me
was an
hanging out at a
adult.
3.5.
the midichlorians in puberty are like, whoo!
Yeah,
You go from 2'6" to 6'4" overnight.
Yeah.
Space puberty is a nightmare.
Oh, little Annie,
Space
all
puberty.
grown up.
Hashtag space puberty.
How old are
That's
you?
right. Get it
Just
trending,
like-
folks.
Just even what year was that? 2002-ish. So it's been about 20 years.
No,
give or take.
I was in Terre Haute. That was 2000.
Yeah.
Are you which one are you talking about?
No.
Phantom Menace or
Oh no. No. Second episode 2. That would have been like 2004, huh? 2002 is when the first
2002.
one came out. Was it
Oh, wait.
2002?
No, 99
And then
Yeah.
2002-ish.
yeah, I was in.
to 2005.
Yeah. And
I mean, I don't remember.
yeah. But legitimately watching that moment when he walks in and he's all grown up, he's like, he just just a little grossed out by it, and all the compassion goes to those poor performers. Like, ugh, they're just handed trash every day on a piece of paper and told to say it, and they gotta say it because it's like, yeah, I guess I gotta be in a Star Wars movie. It's like, I'm not gonna say no.
I guess. Oh,
Yeah.
please do.
Right.
It's
It's
like
like,
this
yeah,
trash.
is this going to be now everyone that's part of it's like, is it going to be a burden?
Yeah.
Am I
Like,
going to
well,
enjoy
but it's
this?
okay because she was 14 when they met. And it's like, I guess that doesn't really make it okay. What are we gonna do now? I guess we could make Jar Jar the entire reason for Star Wars. Okay, done.
Screw it.
Fixed. No one will notice.
Yeah.
I've talked to you guys that I think it's Chris Tucker's performance in Fifth Element that is what George Lucas watched that made him change what Jar
Oh,
Jar was
my.
going to be.
Oh yeah.
And I'm pretty sure, like, outside of just George Lucas saying that's what happened, I'm like 100% sure.
Yeah.
That's what.
Then he watched it. He was like, this is what I've been trying to create.
Well, because then I went and looked it up. And the
Oh, no.
timing works out perfectly. His original was like Jar Jar was going to be kind of this more serious character that betrays Qui-Gon.
Mhm.
So totally different character.
Yeah.
And then Fifth Element comes out in 1997 while he's working on the script. All of a sudden, I think he sees Chris Tucker and he goes, oh, this wacky, fun, like, annoying character. Oh, what if I put that guy up against a
Yeah.
Jedi? Oh, that'll be just wonderful.
Unbelievable.
I hope that's not true. No, I hope it's true. That would be an amazing adjustment.
Yeah.
Let's get George on here. We'll ask him.
Yeah. Oh, I would love to have that.
So
They
it's
say
Luke
films can
Besson's fault.
influence.
That's who you can blame.
Right. Always blame him when you're in doubt. Blame a French auteur.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
Well, hey, we can probably, why don't we do a little roundabout? What else did you guys watch this week that was interesting?
What did you watch? We'll start with you. No more hosting duties for you.
I like hosting. It's fun. It's fun to be the guy in the middle because I can't figure out how to make me and Brian a square on one side. But I started watching. So we watched The Gentleman. Let me think here, because it was something. I'm going to tell you exactly what I did watch.
Downton Abbey.
No, I've been watching Selling Sunset on Netflix.
Judging.
Yeah, it's okay. I don't mind. I've been missing LA a
What
little
is
bit, and well, it's a movie about, or sorry, it's not a movie. It's a reality series about basically like a bunch of hot girls in LA selling property, selling
Oh, okay.
houses. They work for a company called the Oppenheimer Group, which is on Sunset. See it all the time. Drive over there, and which I did a lot, heading over to the Groundlings, and so I was always like, oh yeah, I know that place. And yeah, they handle like anything from $1 million to $50 million properties in LA. And so it's a reality series about that, and it's a little trashy because it's a lot of the drama of the employees in the thing. But I watch it for the houses. I read it for the
Sure.
articles.
Yeah.
And so I watched the first season before I came out there in October for my birthday party, and I just wanted to get a little LA sort of in my blood. Well, the second season dropped, and I was like, kind of excited to watch it, so I watched the first few episodes. So yeah, I mean, the drama's a little annoying, but it's almost like
It's still like manufactured. They argue with each other, or is it just like when they're showing people houses, they have to manufacture that drama?
no, it's drama. It's interpersonal drama within the realtors, because it's two twin brothers who own the company, and then it's like 6 like smoking hot model girls who are the realtors, the real estate
Sure.
agents, and so it's sort of their like
And
interactions.
then
That's the drama.
one gorilla.
Yeah. There's 2 gorillas.
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely watching this.
But there's no real drama, and some of it is a little like fakey because they'll have like a broker or some other agent show up at the thing, and there's a little bit of that stuff you can see is kind of fake, but the drama seems real. Like a couple of them just really don't like each other. So
Well, I mean, those are
yeah.
some serious commissions that are getting thrown
Yeah,
around.
when you're
so-
selling a house for $2 million or like $10 million, it's a lot of money. So it's interesting, but there's some pretty hilarious people in it. But I mean, the houses are just insane. So I did watch a few episodes of that, and I may or may not have watched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood again. I love
Yeah,
that
you
movie.
did because you texted me
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah, it's like may or may not be. Yeah, but it's just so good, man. And the end, and once you finally get to the end, it's just so crazy, and it's like for some reason just so interesting and compelling.
It's so
Brad
satisfying.
Pitt. It's so satisfying.
Yeah.
It's just like these people are invading a house to kill somebody, and they just whack them all. It's great. It's just so
Well,
great.
So
It's like, yeah.
what I think it is, and you're gonna laugh at me for making this comparison, but it's you have this amazing tension that's built, and then there's this huge tension relief valve
Mhm.
that is popped when he goes into the fight. The same thing happened when I saw Saw for the first time. So imagine what the world was like before the Saw franchise was a thing.
Pre-Saw.
It was peaceful.
Yeah, so it's like pre-Saw, right? So I was in the theater watching Saw, and in the very end, when Carrie Elways like bites down and like cuts his own foot off, everyone in the theater just bust out laughing. The
Right.
most hilarious, tension-based laugh I have ever heard in a
Yeah.
movie.
Just the release.
And I think it was the same thing. It was just all this built up, and something just popped the top on it. And that's the same thing that happens in Once Upon a Time. It's like there's all of that just build up, and then
Yeah.
the
And
that
hilarious,
over the
yeah.
top like Brad Pitt awesomeness is like, okay, this is
Yeah.
good. This is good stuff.
It's great. No, it's true.
Did you guys laugh? I am curious.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, when he
During-
slapped.
Yeah. And
Oh,
it is,
yeah.
it's just because it's funny.
Yeah.
But that's
I mean,
my
he's-
whole thesis of Quentin is just that
Right.
his movies are like basically comedies, and
Mhm.
and that stuff is hilarious because but it is a tremendous amount of relief at the end where the heroes win.
Yeah, and it's like, granted, that's not what happens in that movie, but we know those people he beats up are in real life. I mean, they're horrible people in the movie too, but especially in the reality of it, they're really horrible people. So it's very cathartic just to see them have the living shit beat out of them.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a very cathartic moment.
Yeah.
So
A very satisfying alternate history
Yeah.
to what
sure.
really happened. Yeah.
yeah.
For sure. Eric, what are you watching?
The only thing I can think of that I caught a couple episodes. It's on Netflix. It's The Midnight Gospel. It's the animation of Adventure Time, but it's set to essentially like an interview with comedian Duncan Trussell. He does a lot of the drunk
He's
histories.
hilarious.
Mhm.
Yeah. So it's him talking to experts in random things. Like, I don't know, Dr. Drew's an expert, but he's a TV doctor, yeah. But like the first episode, as example, it's him talking to Dr. Drew about drugs,
Mhm.
and Dr. Drew trying to be like, oh no, I don't say drugs are bad necessarily. I think it depends on circumstance. Is a drug good or can it be bad? Yeah.
Right.
And so they're having this back and forth conversation. But within the show, the cartoon, it's like it's set up. It's this little character dude that wants to go interview people, but he has access to this computer multiverse, so he jumps to some planet that has something happening. So like the first one, while he and Dr. Drew are having this audio conversation, the cartoon goes to a planet that's an Earth that's being invaded by zombies, and Dr. Drew's this little president guy, and they're just shooting zombies while they're casually talking about drug
That's
use.
awesome.
And so yeah, it's this wacky
That's funny.
blend, and the animation is just crazy. And then, so I don't know if they just do an interview straight and then they kind of like cut it and add a script on top of it,
Mhm.
and then they come back and re-record, because then there's just intercutting where they're talking and then they're like, oh wait, hold on a minute, get away from me, zombie, or whatever. So
That's
it's
on
fascinating.
Netflix.
It's Netflix, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like half hour, 20-minute episodes. So
Yeah.
I watched 3 of those. So
Yeah. Nice.
yeah, they're interesting.
That's funny.
Mm.
Right.
Well, first off, I have a very interesting Duncan Trussell story. My very first film thing I ever did when I got to Hollywood was with Duncan Trussell.
Oh, really?
I was
awesome.
an intern at a place called Hot House Productions, and like part of that company is they did all comedians, and part of that company is they manage comedians, and Duncan was a new client. And like I think my first day there, like, hey, our client Duncan's coming over, and was making these videos. Like, it's probably still on YouTube, but he was making these videos that he was trying to get the cops called on him. I think he made this video where he had his friend come over, and this girl, and like tied her to a chair and shot her in the chair, and like he put this weird like wolf animal creature mask on, and he had like this gigantic paper fan thing that when he spread it out, it had the Fibonacci sequence on it. He had wrote the Fibonacci sequence on it, and he would open it up and he would flash in and out and everything. And I think my first or second day there, and it's like, so we went up the place, they were in like a building downtown, like actually pretty near here. And we went up to one of the floors at the top that was completely empty. It was like this big office space, where they shot all the music videos in the mid 2000s, one of those, just big, empty, open space. And it was the most surreal experience. And I can't remember if he explained it to me or they told me beforehand, but basically he was trying to make it weird enough, like, this girl had actually been kidnapped, and her captors were posting these videos, and they were doing all this weird stuff. And basically, he was just trying to see if he'd get the cops called on him.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. And I watched it, and part of what they would do when I worked there is like, I think it was every Thursday or something, they had a comedy night where they would have their clients come in and just do stand-up routines. And he did a few, and he was so funny, but one of the other clients was a comedy writer named T-Shawn Shannon, and he told me once that they had Duncan come on as a guest writer for a couple days, and he described him as like, Duncan is that guy is crazy, but is like the good crazy. It's like, as in, we're gonna get good material out of him.
Yeah. Just
It'll be
high
the
level.
crazy will be worth it.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, that's my Duncan Trussell story. And I don't know if they're still together, but he used to date a girl called, her name was Natasha Leggero.
Oh, yeah, I
If you guys-
She married another comedian.
Yeah, okay. Well, they were together at the time. And I remember Natasha did stand up a few times too, and she was so funny, but it was also like, ugh, just some of the crap she would say. Anyway, I don't know. That it's funny, the Duncan Trussell, because I had forgotten all about that, but I just see if I
seen
can
some of that before. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
anyway,
I haven't seen anything outside of his drunk history and then this now. But
But you were saying that's like, oh, that totally sounds like a Duncan Trussell thing. But anyway, so yeah, what did I watch this week? Oh, we watched the Netflix show, The Inside the Mind of Aaron Hernandez.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Did you guys watch that?
I haven't.
You should.
It's a good one.
It's okay. It's really good. It's I had a couple issues with it. Like, well, Matt, you've watched it, but you're also more of a sports person than I am. I don't know, you guys. Have you guys heard the thing about him being a closeted gay guy?
Yeah.
And that was like the sense of the source of his rage.
Potential.
I had not heard that prior to watching this, and I don't know, but that was only my issue with the documentary. That part felt really forced and really shoehorned into the documentary.
I think that it was it could very well have been, because there wasn't necessarily, and a documentary made on that level isn't going to not do their fact checking. They're going to be extremely diligent about that. But the father-son duo of the son who was claiming that he and Aaron had a relationship in high school, definitely felt a little like they were trying to, catch their 15 minutes of fame.
Oh yeah,
it definitely had that feeling to it, the way they talked. But there also was a sincerity in the way that they talked that I was like, that sounds about right. And I think that there was just a very confused person. I felt like it was weaved in well. That was just my perception of it from watching it. But I didn't know that. So I knew nothing about, I forgot that this even happened, man. I didn't know anything about Aaron Hernandez. I didn't know anything about how this whole thing went down. I went into it because it was an era of football that I just kind of stopped watching. And I didn't pick up until I think a couple years after he was gone, before I started watching again. So I didn't know anything about this. And so I was just riveted the whole time. It was just like,
it was a great documentary. And I remember seeing it in the news when it happened. Like, I remember the thing where, he got convicted of the first one and then he got exonerated for the second one. And because the first was on appeal, he killed himself. So then, like, his family was still going to get all his money, which, I won't say anything else if you guys are going to watch it, but
which I didn't know any of that. Like, I didn't know that he was dead. Like, which is great.
Really? You missed all that.
Which makes for a fantastic documentary.
Here, so
yeah.
It was in the news here.
Which, by the way, so I've watched a lot of documentaries, a ton of documentaries, and I would say that like the vast majority, like 8 out of 10 of every documentary I've watched this last year takes place in Massachusetts, bro. Like, what is going on out there? Like, it's always like slow push in, and it's just like 911 call and this and that and blah, blah, blah. And then it like pops up and it's like random town in Massachusetts, and you're just like, why again? Yeah, country town in Massachusetts, 17 people beheaded. You're just like, what is going on out there? It's so small. Why? That's not real. I made that up. Yeah. But why are so many things happening there? Do you have any insight?
It is like a weird little mini America. It's kind of like, I feel like you can look at any little cross section of different towns and cities and areas, and you can get almost anything that you can get anywhere else. And you wouldn't really think it maybe until you are here, but like there's definitely people outside the city, or not even that far outside the city, that you're like, they could be middle of America. Like it's not, just because it's New England. But then it also has, I don't know. There's something about New England. It's like comedians. When you talk about so many comedians, it's like, where are they from? Boston. It's just endless. There's something about this place that just creates, I don't know. It's weird.
Did you watch the How to Fix a Drug Scandal one on Netflix yet?
Yes.
Also takes place in Massachusetts. It's crazy, man. Because it's like this whole thing.
What's the
How to Fix a Drug Scandal? The whole premise is it starts with a drug lab, and the basic premise is just that a woman in a drug lab in Western Massachusetts was doing the drugs. That's your basic premise, and then it turns into this whole thing where not one but two women who were basically in control of like 20,000 cases over the course of their time there were either on drugs or forging like the results just to burn through everything. And so it just turns into this whole story of like where the whole basically like every guy who was in jail for drug charges in this like 9-year period had to get let out. And I'm just like, what is going on there? Like the drug lab where this lady worked, no cameras, no oversight, no supervision. She's just legitimately going into like the cabinet where they have all the control drugs. So, they're testing for meth. So they have to have their little control areas like, hey, drip, drip, make sure that's meth. So it's concentrated meth in liquid form that she would just like roll over and just drop on her tongue every few hours and just stay high all the time. It's amazing. It's a great documentary.
Or like later on, she would just put some in her Pepsi can every day.
Yeah, just drop in her Diet Coke. It was amazing. Yeah. Such a good documentary, though. Really beautifully made. But definitely. So I started watching one on HBO. I think it was HBO. Maybe it was Netflix. Something like God Knows Where I Am. And it was the same thing. It was like beautiful drone shot over Western Massachusetts. I was like, I gotta watch it. I gotta.
The Berkshires.
Yeah, I think it might have been New Hampshire, but yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. What about you, Nico?
Let's see. So movie-wise, we watched The Gentleman and King Arthur in prep.
Mm-hmm.
New TV. My one reality TV show Vice is all of the below deck stuff. So it's about like the people that work on luxury sailing yachts, so they've got below deck original, then they had below deck med, which takes place in the Mediterranean because the seasons don't line up.
Mm-hmm.
The one that just finished was below deck, but it was a sailing yacht. So actually, potentially a wind powered. So that just wrapped up, and it's funny. It's funny to me because these people work for 4 weeks and make like $20,000,
mm-hmm.
But it's such a nice slice of what would you even call it? It's like a sociology slice because there's definitely a hierarchy. There's the captain,
mm-hmm.
but then there is the head stew and the bosun. And the head stew has like a first stew and a second stew, and the bosun has like a first mate and then crew member. And like, so watching these like millennials that are like basically the bottom, like greenhorns, coming in, and the boss is telling them, do this, do this, do this. And there's like, you never tell me I do a good job. If you treat me. It's just like, yeah, man, you are literally on the bottom.
Yeah.
So yes, their job is to tell you how to do your job. So it's funny just to listen to them and then of course someone's always like, I don't like when you talk behind my back. Well, I'm going to talk behind your back now. Stab, stab, stab. So it's dirty TV, but it's kind of like how you watch the Sunset Show. The yachts are amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And like these people are definitely, I think if you were to charter one of these yachts, it'd be like $50,000.
Right.
And some of the people that are on it are definitely being compensated to be on the show because they're good TV, but they definitely don't have $50,000 floating around.
Right.
So that's our Vice. We watch that. But I've been going through like Rick and Morty, I think has wrapped for this season, or like
they're one more.
Yeah, they're like floating it. So I've been working on that. There's a show on Sci-Fi called Vagrant Queen, which was I'll watch anything on Sci-Fi because they still like doing practical effects and makeup and costume, space related. So the work is awesome. This show, it was good. It was a good show. They did a cool thing every episode where they do like the stopped camera and like move the camera around where everything is. So there's like floating water and blood splatter, but it's like their signature thing that they do every episode. So it was a decent show. Trying to think. Yeah, we wrapped Defending Jacob, which how do I put this?
It hasn't aired. The last one hasn't aired yet.
The finale aired.
It did?
Yeah.
No, it's this Friday.
Well, so let me put it this way. The
I have a
show,
DeLorean.
the show is awesome.
Just spit
But-
on the mic.
F you for putting me on such a giant cliffhanger for the season finale. I thought it was a season finale. Like it's,
No, it's
You still got one more episode,
tomorrow. It's tomorrow.
let me put it this way. The episode I saw last Friday, if that was a season finale, which I thought it was, is like the most giant FU, and like we leave you on this monster hangar. Now you got to wait a whole year and some change to find out where. So they don't even like. I hope I'm wrong.
Is it more intense than when Alf went off the air?
More or less
Yes.
intense.
You guys remember
No,
that?
the show, the
Yeah.
show is so it's
I was
so
pissed.
good, but it definitely it's like it's
like
got
an
that
8-year-old when I was
hanger.
mad.
Man, it's so good. It's great. Defending Jacob is an amazing show. So if you have the ability to watch it,
Yeah.
100% track it down because it's got Michelle Dockery, it's got Chris Evans,
Mhm.
it's got Porn Stash from Orange Is the New Black, whose name I should know but I can't remember. But it's so good. It's great, and it does the thing where there's two narratives happening. There's Chris Evans and Pornstash in a grand jury testimony, and you're not sure. For those who don't know how grand juries work, you're not sure what he's there for, like what the indictment is that is requiring the grand jury. Grand juries work a little differently. That's a whole different show. Go look it up. But then the main show is about him defending his son who's been accused of this murder.
Mhm.
And so like that story on its own is wow. And then they throw in this additional interview thing that makes you constantly wonder, why is this other thing what has happened that this other thing is now happening?
Yeah, check
It's
it out.
so
Well, I think
good,
it's on
man.
our
It's
list, so.
yeah, it's definitely it's good. I hope that Friday wasn't the finale and there is one, because the way that they left this one on Friday was like,
You guys will have to talk off the air. 'Cause
Yeah,
Eric and
we'll
I haven't
figure it
seen it. But
No, I'm looking it up. I'm pretty certain it's tomorrow.
okay,
Yeah, final episode airs on Friday, May 29th.
thank
Yeah.
God.
Calm down.
Maybe they'll just top there
You're right.
with even a bigger cliffhanger.
Yeah. So yeah, so that's what we've been doing. I think what we're gonna start. I don't know, man. I heard good news today that at least in Vegas, theaters might be opening June 4th. I know our casino's opening June 4th, so
Wow.
come on out, spend your money.
Nice.
But yeah, so we're starting to open back up June 4th. But if you still go on to our not a sponsor website to look for movie tickets, they don't have any times or postings. I don't even know, to be honest, when movie theaters open back up, I don't
What
even know
they
what they're
could
going to
play.
have. Like, what is it even going to be?
Invisible Man. Yeah, just stuff they saw kicking around right
Yeah.
when
Oh, are they
the
just
started.
going to like roll it back to what they paid for in March and just like,
What's that movie where Michael Keaton played a snowman? They could throw that one in there. No one saw that.
Jack Frost.
Yeah.
It's
What
just
did I
like,
watch that they could redo? Unstoppable. I finally watched. That's something I watched this week. The Denzel Washington train movie.
movie.
Oh,
I like
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of laughed at the premise, and then I
Chris
watched,
Pine.
and I was like, "This is great."
Yeah.
I was enthralled, and I was like, "Train world! I know nothing about this."
Right?
Yeah,
Let's get
pretty
entertained
great.
and educated.
yeah,
All at the same
exactly. I
time.
learned and I felt.
Yeah, that's great.
I had feelings.
I got a
Papa,
I
I,
got a
had feelings,
brain
Papa.
It's like my brain is getting hard. Oh, that's wonderful.
yeah.
Well,
So-
folks, thank you for listening. Thank you for streaming. For all three of you who are watching right now.
So
We are
wait, so
gonna
I'm
stream.
I'm one of them.
I'm one of them. So I wonder
Hey,
who the
we have-
third is.
you.
Do you have it
So-
up, Nick or Eric?
I
You
have
got
it up.
Oh, okay. So there's nobody watching. But we didn't tell anybody.
I don't know if I can see if they don't comment. So if you're listening, we'll wait the 30 seconds for the delay. Please comment.
See if you comment.
And-
Yeah.
unless you left your browser open and it's been playing in the background the whole time.
Be curious to see. So next week we'll promote it a little bit if you want to hop on and watch live. And thanks for listening. We'll see you all next week.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.